Welcome to this lesson. In this lesson, we'll take a look at switch statements. In the last lesson, we talked about how if-else statement works, and though switch is also a conditional statement, there is a slight difference between if-else and switch. In switch, you can accept multiple conditions, and for each condition, based on whichever is true, a different statement would be executed. Alright, so it's different from if-else where there's only one condition checked, and if it's true, then if would be executed. If it's not true, else would be executed. So switch is different. Let me show you the syntax of switch first. So the keyword here is switch, just like in if-else the keywords were if and else. And then as usual, there's going to be a parenthesis where the condition goes, and then there are flower brackets like this, and within this parenthesis you can either send a variable or a condition to check. And then there are going to be multiple case statements within our switch statement. So case, let's say case first. So based on which case statement comes out as true, then the statements within that case statement would be executed. So these are the statements or lines of code. And then after that, there's going to be a break statement. So that's how a single case in a switch statement is written. So there can be multiple case statements in a switch. There's no limit at all. So for now, let me just write 2. And then finally, a default that also has some statements to be executed. But this time there's no break. So this might be confusing at the first glance, but once I explain everything, it'll become clear. So the switch statement, just like the if statement, compares a condition, but in this case, it can also accept a single value. So then based on this result, it'll select a case. The case value can be anything. It can be a number, it can be strings, it can be even Boolean values as in true or false. So it can be any type of value. So if a case is selected, then the statements in that case would be executed. And then the program will encounter the break statement right here at the end of the case, which then breaks the program out of the switch statement. If none of these cases match at all, then it will come straight to the default case and execute the statements within it. But the default case is optional. If you don't use it and if none of the cases matches, the program will just come out of the switch statement without doing anything. So if none of the cases match, that's not a problem at all. But the break statement after, not breaks, it has to be break. Alright, but the break statement after each case, like this, it is really mandatory. Because otherwise, once a case is encountered, it will execute the statements in the following cases as well. For example, if there was no break statement in here and the case first was executed, let's say, so this statement or line of code would be executed, and then since there is no break statement in here, the second case's lines of code would also be executed. But that's not what we want. We only want one of those cases lines of code to be executed. So that's why break is very important for the cases. But for default, you don't need a break, because once you come to the default statement, you've come to the end of a switch statement. So after that, there is no other line of code to break away from. Alright? So let me show you an example so you understand how this works much better. First of all, let me create a program. I'll delete all of this for now. Now let me create a program that displays a certain message for each number that is sent to the switch statement. So first of all, let me declare a variable num and give it a value 5 for now. And then the switch statement is going to accept this particular variable. As I told you, the switch statement can have conditions or variables. So in this example, I'm just sending it a variable. So the cases are going to be based on this variable. So let me align these braces first. And then the case 1. In here, case 1 is going to be when num is equal to 1, this particular case is executed. Okay, the 1 in here is not case number 1, it's actually the value 1. If the value is 1, then the alert is going to say the number is 1. And then there's going to be a break statement. Now, if the case is 2, then, not 2, let's have it 3 this time. As in, if the value is 3, then it's gonna say the number is 3 And then let me correct this. The semicolon has to come after the parenthesis. And then the break statement. Alright. So, and then case phi alert, the number is phi. I think we can end it here. Maybe we can add one more case 7. Alert is going to say the number is 7. And then the break statement. Let's also add a default just in case. Alert, the number was not specified. But in here we don't need the break statement. I already told you why. So this is our switch statement. It has 4 different cases and 1 default statement, and the cases are for values 1, 3, 5, and 7. So if one of these values were not sent via the variable num, then it has to go to the default. So in our case, the num value is actually phi. So ideally, the case phi should be executed, and the alert should say the number is phi. So let's see if that happens. Let's first save this file and then go to live preview. See, the number is phi. So our switch statement is working perfectly, in fact. Now let me change this number to 3. Let's see if the alert changes as well. It has to say the number is 3. So the case 3 should be executed. See, it says the number is 3. Now let me change this to 10. So ideally, it should go to the default statement and say the number was not specified, because the only values that we accept in our switch statements are 1, 3, 5, and 7, and this number is actually 10. So let's see if that happens. See, the number was not specified. So this is how a switch statement works, and it's very useful when you have multiple conditions to go through. So that's it for this lesson. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.